dead. So, you know, never a dull moment.
Yeah, very good. Nice to meet you. Nice to see you again, Bill. Thanks for joining me. So let's talk about this Pakistani claims about use of Afghanistan soil for terrorist activities. So, what is the TTP relation with the Taliban? How close they are, and what are the conflict of interest between them?
The movement of the Taliban in Pakistan, otherwise known as the TTP or Tariqi Taliban Pakistan, is closely allied with the Afghan Taliban, which is now the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan. And in fact, its leader has sworn allegiance to the emir of the TTP's emir, has sworn allegiance to the emir, Mullah Habibatullah Akhundzada, of the Afghan Taliban. So you could just look at the TTP as being the Pakistani branch of the Afghan Taliban. The two groups are closely related. Look, for instance, the Haqqanis, which is an integral part of the Taliban, some of its fighters occasionally fight alongside the TTP inside of Pakistan. There's sort of a joke that, when the Haqqanis are on the Pakistani side of the border, they're the TTP, and when they're on the Afghan side of the border, they're the Afghan Taliban. The TTP was instrumental in helping the Afghan Taliban conquer the country last summer and over the last 2 decades. They've provided a steady flow of fighters. They've leadership, and they fought alongside the Afghan Taliban, fought in their ranks. So the two group, the TTP wants what the Afghan Taliban has. They want an Islamic Emirate of Pakistan. That is their goal, just as the Afghan Taliban's goal was the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan. Again, they're in bed with each other. When the Afghan Taliban, before they controlled Afghanistan, they were still sheltering in areas of Afghanistan that were controlled by the Taliban in the northeast and the east, and even in the south. So the TTP, this it's an undying relationship between the two, just as the Taliban Al Qaeda relationship hasn't been broken, nor has the Afghan Taliban and Pakistani Taliban relationship been broken.
So, do you believe that there is any TTP leader inside Afghanistan, and do you think Taliban will take any action against them?
There is, without a doubt, the senior TTP leaders that are sheltering inside of Afghanistan. The U.S. has killed several of them in the past in air and drone strikes and ground operations. The former Afghan National Directorate of Security has arrested some. They've since been freed by the Afghan Taliban. Yeah, they're without a doubt, not just the leaders, but the fighters are sheltering inside of Afghanistan and using Afghanistan as a safe haven, which is ironic because the Afghan Taliban was using Pakistan as a safe haven to launch its insurgents and execute its insurgency into Afghanistan.
Sounds good. Hold on. So there's a paradox between the Taliban and the Pakistani government claims, and Taliban refuses what Pakistan is claiming against them, that you're using the Afghanistan soil. But what's your thoughts about it? What is your takeaway from these claims?
The irony here is the relationship between the Afghan Taliban and the Pakistani state. Pakistan was the prime supporter of the Afghan Taliban. It provided its safe haven, weapons, training, the ability to recruit for its leaders and fighters to take shelter in the country and get medical care and visit their families and things of that nature. Without Pakistan, the Taliban would never have overrun Afghanistan. I have no doubt about that. But the Afghan Taliban, this is what my colleague Tom Jocelyn and I call the wheel of jihad. And this is how it works. The Pakistani state supports the Afghan Taliban. The Afghan Taliban supports the movement of the Taliban in Pakistan, which attacks the Pakistani state. And then the Pakistani state continues to support the Afghan Taliban. And on this wheel of jihad goes. And it operates in similar ways for other Pakistani jihadist groups. But that, in a nutshell, is what it is. And there's a reason for this. The Pakistani state, its interests it has far greater interest in seeing Afghanistan being run by the Taliban. So it takes this, it sacrifices its own soldiers, policemen, and civilians to be killed by the movement of the Taliban in Pakistan in order to maintain good relations with the Afghan Taliban. So the Pakistani state may complain about this. It may cajole and berate Afghan Taliban officials about it. But at the end of the day, that relationship, I don't see it breaking at any point in time because the Pakistani state gets what it wants. It gets its strategic depth by the Taliban controlling Afghanistan. So it's willing to, it's very cynical. The Pakistani state, remember, a decade ago, the Pakistani Taliban controlled large areas of northwestern Pakistan, what was then the Northwest Frontier Province and the tribal areas. It's now called the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa Province. This is and the Taliban, the Pakistani Taliban, gained control of these areas with support of the Afghan Taliban and Al Qaeda and other terror groups, but because the military cut peace deals with them, they were fine with the Pakistani Taliban controlling these remote Pashtun areas and even less remote, even suburban Pashtun areas. It was only when they got within 60 miles of Islamabad and showed no signs of stopping did the Pakistani state turn on them. And this is so the Pakistani state is willing and has supported a degree of terrorism within its own borders in order to achieve that goal of strategic depth within Afghanistan.
So as the last question, so do you think that Taliban victory empowered the TTP and other extremist groups or Islamic movements inside Pakistan?
Yeah, the Taliban's victory in Afghanistan buoyed the movement of the Taliban in Pakistan, which has been on its back heels, I would say, for the past 6 or 7 years now. When the Pakistani state went to drive them out of those areas that it controlled, it drew back into the tribal areas. It went underground. It was fighting guerrilla war and sheltered inside Afghanistan. So the Pakistani Taliban focused its efforts on helping the Afghan Taliban take control of Afghanistan. And now it's getting payback. It's getting that return. It's seen that this formula actually works. Now, the real question is how far will the Afghan Taliban let the Pakistani Taliban go in reconquering territory? The whole of Pakistan? Maybe not, but getting control of tribal areas and some areas within the north, within Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, maybe they're very likely. I mean, they're allowing the movement of the Taliban in Pakistan to conduct these attacks inside of Pakistan. So it's likely they'd be happy with them taking control. Because look, the Afghan Taliban wants the same thing. They'd love to have a state next to they're happy working with the Pakistani state, but they'd be much happier with the Pakistani Taliban controlled Pakistan.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Ben, for joining me. I appreciate it. Let me stop this. Thank you.